Hello everyone, let's do some art, shall we? Alright, today I have sort of an interesting art challenge for you. I've got my hands on some really old oil pastels in this cute little set. Um, it's about 12 colors, and yeah, they're super old. From the research I did, they're at least 50 years old, maybe more than that. But yeah, I just, was really excited that I had them in my possession, and I wanted to see how they worked. I do not use oil pastels often, very rarely, in fact. They're definitely not my favorite medium. I know that they're a huge mess. Like, I knew that going into this, but I didn't really know how much of a disaster these would really be. So yeah, that was a really fun experience, a fun challenge, but not my favorite piece of artwork ever. So yeah, let's talk about the art real quick. I divided my piece of paper into two sections, um, and then with some washi tape so that I would have clean edges. And then I did like two separate pieces, like with two very different color focuses. So on the left, I have like blues and dark um, colors, and then on the other side, it's greens with a little bit of blues as well. Okay, so it was a really cool idea actually. So I have two different environments that are sort of supposed to merge. So like all of the lines that go into them sort of connect so they look like they're, just gradually changing into different environments sort of naturally with the specific curves and stuff, which I think is still a really cool idea. It just didn't turn out the clearest with the oil pastels. I wasn't really sure how to get that sort of definition that I was looking for. It's maybe just not possible with oil pastels, but it definitely didn't work for me in this piece. Okay, so let's really quick talk about the supplies I used. Alright, so of course we have the oil pastels, which are the Sakura Cray-Pass oil colors. Um, and so those are the really old oil pastels that I used. The paper that I used is the Canson mixed media paper, which I think was a pretty good paper. It had you know enough tooth that it really held the color really well. It wasn't like totally smooth and it was all just smearing, but it also wasn't too grooved that I couldn't get any flat color, which I find really annoying in general. Like, I really like it to be smooth, which doesn't really go hand in hand with oil pastels, but like, I sort of made it work. And then I also used washi tape so that I could have some nice crisp lines. I love using washi tape for this. Also for like watercolor or whatever. It doesn't hurt the paper, which is why it's so great. And then, just like a color erase pencil to do my sketches. I also tried various methods of blending with the oil pastels. I used some like baby oil. I used like a tortillon. Um, yeah, none of those went very well. Yeah, I didn't have a great time with blending. I very much struggled with this medium, just, trying to avoid making a huge disaster everywhere, which, is hard because the oil pastels really transfer very easily. They smear. And then I struggled with blending. I mentioned earlier that I don't like gaps of white. I want it to be a flat color, um, which involves like either laying down a huge thick layer of color or really smearing everything everywhere, which is, a challenge and a mess. So that wasn't the greatest method for me. Um, and then, yeah, I was very limited in colors. There are only 12 color pastels, and then I had to figure out how to blend them to make more colors, but I really struggled making colors go together. They still looked pretty separate even when I layered them on top. So that was a challenge. And then, of course, my biggest issue with these, and this piece in particular, is that there is not a lot of definition. It's hard to tell where one object or one specific feature ends and another one starts. I just really struggled with that. It's like, it just looked like a bunch of blobs for the most part. Yeah, that was kind of unfortunate. On the left side with the blue, it's an underwater cave. If you might not be able to tell, I definitely feel like it does not have all the features necessary to be an underwater cave, but that's what it was supposed to be. Yeah, it's just a lot of just random shapes. I didn't get... The problem with it is that there's a lot of texture involved, but there's not a lot of texture differential. So like places where, it would help if it was smooth, I can't get it to be smooth, or like places where I want it to stand out as a different texture, I cannot get any other texture than that one, like, yeah, one texture. So it doesn't have a lot of, it looks like it has depth, but that's only because of the colors. I have a lot of white and dark, but yeah, other than that, I can't really see much of the scenery or tell what it is. On the right side, you can definitely see a little bit more of what's going on. I managed to, make it look more like a scene. I think that's also like, it's much more recognizable just in general. You can tell that it's like a field with trees and a mountain. Like, that's something that you can just recognize even in a pretty abstract piece, whereas an underwater cave is, kind of hard to recognize. So, although it's really cool that those pictures like lined up, and I love that, yeah, they don't really show what I was trying to get them to show. So I would love to sort of redo this sort of idea, for a piece, to have two very distinct sceneries that are landscapes that sort of meld together and somehow conjoin. That's really cool. But I would love to do it in a medium that I'm much more confident with. But the pastels worked great. Like, from what I've used before, they're exactly the same. They, yeah, didn't go down in quality over a bunch of years, which is good, but they're definitely not for me. Not my favorite medium. So I really hope you enjoyed watching me do this little experiment. Kind of struggled a lot in there, but that's okay. It was fun to work on, even though there was a mess, and even though I struggled, I do think I learned a lot. So until next time, don't forget to live life respectfully. Alrighty, bye!